I'd like to welcome all those of you who have joined, signed up for, and are listening to the recording of this webinar. My name is Bindu Johnson. I call myself an integrative wholeness coach. My focus is to help women, men and women with fibromyalgia to live happier, healthier, more productive lives. My experience with fibromyalgia goes back many, many years. And I've been through many experiences as I have lived with, explored, suffered from, and healed. Maybe healed is the wrong word, but improved my health and happiness. So now my business is Beyond Fibromyalgia. And so I work with men and women who want to improve their health, take control of their health, rebuild their health, and find joy and fulfillment in their lives. Tonight's webinar is going to be the first of monthly, once a month webinars, exploring different aspects of fibromyalgia from a holistic perspective. I'll talk more about that as we get into the session. So this was billed as a Q&A. And so I have several questions that people have emailed and sent to me. So I'm going to begin by responding to those questions. The most common question that I get asked is, how do I get rid of X, Y, or Z? Some of the ones that came in, how do I get rid of sinus headaches? How can I get rid of back discomfort, stiffness in my side, the sides of my neck? Finding ways to deal with neck side pains. Finding ways to deal with body trigger points. And another very common question is, I'm not sure if this symptom is related to fibromyalgia or is it something else. So I want to start by explaining a very basic difference between holistic health and allopathic medicine. They both have their roles to play and they are both valuable. I think rebuilding your health, in the focus of rebuilding your health, it's important to know the difference between the two and when to make choices and how to make choices about which approach you want to be working with. And they are not mutually exclusive. So if you're working with a medical doctor and you're on medications, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Yet by working with some of what I have learned and am now sharing with you, you may come to a point that you might not need those medications anymore. But that, whether you take medications or not, is between you and your doctor. And I don't really speak to that. I just want to let you know that they are not mutually exclusive. So I'm going to begin to respond to some of these questions by sharing my understanding of allopathic medicine, something else called green medicine, and holistic health. So allopathic medicine tends to treat symptoms. Their focus is to get rid of the symptom. And generally that is done through medications for the most part. And green medicine is also, it's a more holistic perspective. And yet the treatments focus on, can, not always, but can focus on getting rid of symptoms. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting rid of symptoms, because obviously when you're living with fibromyalgia, you want to get rid of your symptoms. So there's nothing wrong with that. But if your focus is getting rid of symptoms without understanding the underlying cause of the symptom, your treatments might get rid of symptom, but if the underlying cause is not addressed, you might discover different complications as you move forward. Green medicine is often that, supplements and holistic modalities are, again, focused on getting rid of the symptom, where holistic health is, the focus there is to use the symptom as a starting point to do some inquiry and exploration into what is the cause of the symptom, and using natural and holistic means to release the cause, to undo the cause, to rectify the cause of the symptom, and then the symptom goes away. And that's where my focus is. That's what I have done for many years. And in my exploration, I've found what doesn't work and what does work. I was the guinea pig for many years. Tried a lot of different things in both allopathic and holistic health systems. And I've found what works for me and for many others. That's what I have to share with you. To respond to the question, is this fibro-related or is it not fibro-related? From a holistic perspective, fibromyalgia is a catch-all that doctors will diagnose because they don't know what's causing your symptoms. Fibromyalgia is characterized by fatigue, chronic pain, and the longer the term fibromyalgia has been out there, more and more symptoms get thrown into the bucket. Burning skin was a symptom that I had for a long time. Brain fog, depression, anxiety. So literally, almost any symptom you have in your body can be connected. So rather than chase symptoms, we want to look at causes of symptoms. Because when you have a lot of symptoms like that, there's a dysregulation in the body. The body is designed to heal itself. The body is a very miraculous creation created by God, consciousness. And it's designed to heal itself. It's designed to live healthy. It's designed as a vehicle so that you can enjoy life and live your purpose. It's designed to live to 120 years old with good health. And we have forgotten that. We have forgotten that our bodies are self-healing. I know what's true for myself is that I was raised that if you had a symptom, you went to the doctor. The doctor gave you a pill or something, and your symptoms went away. Unfortunately, that model never worked for me. I started going to the doctors at the age of 15. And for 10 years, I went to doctors, different doctors, had multiple test runs. At one point, I went to a clinic in Oregon and spent a week going through exhaustive testing. And they came back at the end of the week and they said, "We can't find anything physically wrong with you." And I simply sat down and cried because I was in severe pain all the time. I could barely eat without my intestines just spasming and cramping up so bad that I could do nothing but lay down and sleep. And here, after a week of exhausted tests, being told that they can't find anything wrong with me was just devastating. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that. From that point on, I moved forward, and for the next several years, I tried medical doctors again and again. And after about the age of 25, I had again tests done. Doctor came back and said, "We can't find anything physically wrong with you. We think it's stress. Go get some counseling." And again, I didn't know what to do. And a few days after that, my sister approached me and said that she was going to a workshop with a chiropractor. And the focus of that workshop was stress. And I thought, yay, that's exactly what I need. So I went with her and went to this chiropractor who was very skilled in holistic health. And I worked with him for several months after that. And that was my first step down the road of holistic health. And it became my focus. And that's when I was around 25, so 40 years. I have focused on that. When we have fibromyalgia, it's different for everyone. We don't treat the symptoms, we treat the person. And so for fibromyalgia, the same symptoms could be caused by different things. When we have fibromyalgia, if the underlying cause isn't addressed over time, the symptoms will worsen and more symptoms may appear. And at that time, medical doctors might have a new diagnosis or think they misdiagnosed you or things like that. But from a holistic perspective, again, the question that I ask is, okay, what's the underlying cause? Not how to get rid of the symptom, but what's the underlying cause? So then it becomes a journey of detective work. So we want to, so in order to rebuild your health, we need to address multiple dimensions. We're multidimensional people. We have a physical body. We have an emotional body. We have a mental body. So the physical body is obvious. It's our body, it's our hands, it's our feet, it's our organs, all the hormones and all of those things. The emotional body, that's what we feel. We feel joy, we feel sadness. We feel anger, we feel courage, we feel fear. We feel contentment. And those are all valid emotions. We have a mental body, we have a mind that thinks. And the mind is a valuable tool to help us navigate life. And we have a spiritual aspect of us, a connection to the divine. And that can show up for different people in different ways. So when working with individuals with fibromyalgia, it's important to understand the stresses in any of those dimensions. I'm going to add one more dimension. I'm going to call it expression. And expression is how we interact with the world, our relationships, our jobs. So that's another area. So in all of these areas, the body, the emotions, the mind, connection with spirit, our expression in the world, there can be stressors. And if those stressors are not addressed, that's when we have imbalances and dysfunction in the body. And it's those stresses that are not addressed, that are not rectified, that cause the symptoms if left unaddressed. So in a program to rebuild our health, and I say the term rebuild our health because it is a process of building, a rebuilding. And we have to be an active participant in that. We need to take responsibility for our own health. We need to make choices that will improve our health. And we need to be aware of these 5 dimensions that I've mentioned and be aware of stresses in each of those areas and understand what kind of actions you can take to rectify the imbalances. So the body, the physical body, that's where we experience most of our symptoms. But symptoms in any of those dimensions can cause, or imbalances in any of those dimensions can cause symptoms in the physical body. So in the physical body, care of the physical body is the first place that we need to start when we want to rebuild our health. So to take care of our physical body, we need to, 1, eat healthy foods, and we need to eat the right foods for our body type. We need to learn to listen to our bodies, because our bodies, every cell of our body has an intelligence that keeps this body alive. Millions of biochemical and enzymatic and hormonal changes are happening in your body every moment. And those changes, those interactions are guided by a wisdom, the divine wisdom that lives in every cell of your body. And the symptom is a signal from the body that there's something amiss. A symptom says, hey, there's an imbalance here. You need to take a look at it. So we start by feeding our body good food. We feed our body foods that are right for our body. We give our body exercise and movement that's appropriate for our body. We drink water. The body needs to be hydrated. And water is the very best way to hydrate the body. We get air and sunshine. Sunshine and oxygens are vital nutrients to the body. So something as simple as learning how to breathe more deeply will be a part of rebuilding your health. To respect our body. And I know sometimes with fibromyalgia, you can feel like the body's the enemy, like the body has betrayed us. But maybe we have betrayed our body by not taking care of it. We live in a world where we're surrounded by highly processed foods that are chemicalized. foods that are fake. So the first step in rebuilding your health is to begin to eat from around the edge of the grocery store. That's where all the produce lies. Vegetables are your best friend. Healthy proteins, healthy oils. Foods with less processing and less additives. And then understanding that our bodies are all unique. There's a term called bioindividuality. It was coined by the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, which is where I received my training as a wellness coach. Bioindividuality means our bodies are all unique. And what works for some people does not work for other people. So we have to find out what the right diet is for our body. The question becomes, how do you do that? Look at the myriad of dietary theories that are in the market. There's hundreds of them, and there's more coming out every day. There's a lot of ideas about diet, so much so that we can become very confused and we can spend years and years trying to find the right diet for us, never reaching that goal. But there is a system that I use that helps you to identify the diet that's right for your unique body. And it's a combination of a questionnaire and learning how to listen to your body and read its signs. That was the diet that ended my search for diets, because up until that time, I tried multiple diets. They all had these great promises. I did the macrobiotic diet, the zone diet, the blood type diet, the Ayurvedic diet, and more. Never really hit the mark for me. And when I studied and practiced the metabolic typing diet that I use now with my clients, it ended that search. I found that the right foods that were right for my body. And I also, part of the process is learning how to listen to your body's signals, to refining your diet and knowing the right foods and in what percentages of protein, carbs, and fats for your body. And once you know that, and once you have that connection with your body, then your body can guide you. The same thing with exercise. There's a lot of different ways of exercising, and this fad and that fad will come out. And it's easy to get lost in all the fads, because I've been in this for so long, like 40 years. I've seen all the fads come and go. But underneath all of the fads is some basic principles around both diet and exercise. And that's what I focus on, is those underlying basic principles that are across the board, which again helps you to find the right exercise for your body, which takes into your unique body type, but it also takes into your health condition and where you're at the moment. For me, one of the most powerful exercises I've ever done is yoga. And luckily, 40 years ago, when I first got into holistic health, one of my early stops on my journey was to live in a yoga community, a holistic yoga and holistic health community. And I lived there for 6 years. And I'd started doing yoga before I went there. and really liked it. And I really wanted to have a daily yoga practice. I didn't have the self-discipline. So I went into this yoga center for 3 months, and I thought this will give me a good opportunity to do yoga every day and support environment. Well, I stayed for 6 years. And it was the best 6 years of my life. And it changed the trajectory of my life. And it taught me a lot of what I teach today, the very foundation of life. But it also taught me yoga. And so I spent the next 40 years with a daily practice of yoga. And yoga is a very powerful way to rebuild your health. Yoga strengthens the body, creates more flexibility. If you're doing yoga properly, you're going to be breathing more deeply, and you're going to be aware of your body. It doesn't matter what exercise you do for your body. If you are breathing deeply and keeping your awareness in your body and adjusting whatever exercise you're doing to your body's needs, you're practicing yoga. Because that's the foundation of yoga. Yoga means union. It's uniting your body, your mind, your breath, your spirit. My other favorite exercise is simply walking. Even 10 minutes a day to walk. If you can't do 10 minutes, start with 5 minutes. Years ago, I went to it was at a community college near where I lived, and they had a health center there. And so I went there to take their health program. And the first day I went there, the man who was leading it said, if you did nothing more than walk 10 minutes a day, maybe he said 20 minutes, 10 minutes or 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week, you're going to go a long way towards maintaining your health. That really shocked me and really surprised me because, well, that was in when, more vigorous kind of yogas were popular. Go into the gym and, move really fast and jump around and do this and that, all these exercises. And they never really were right for me. So when I went into this program and he said that, 10 to 20 minute walk 3 times a week will keep your body healthy, I was floored, and I was very relaxed. It gave me permission to be more gentle with myself, to be more gentle with my body. I didn't have to beat myself to a pulp with aerobics because they were never right for me. One of the questions that came in, and I'm going to answer that question right now, is, should I push through pain and discomfort while exercising? So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. There's something that I call an integrative edge. And that's going to come up in anything that you do, but particularly this was a concept that I learned when I was studying yoga, is that when you do a yoga posture, what you're going to do is you're going to encounter tension in your body as you go into a yoga posture. And the way you are with that tension will make a big difference on how the results that you get. If you encounter the tension in your body and you try to push through it, it's going to be counterproductive. If you encounter the tension in your body and you run away from it or you pull away from it, then you might not make very much progress. But if you encounter that tension consciously and take a few minutes to explore it and find the integrative edge. The integrative edge is where you're in a place of discomfort, and yet you're staying present. You're not pulling away from and you're not pushing. You're just being present with it. So with any exercise, that's what I would recommend. So if you're walking and you can walk for 5 minutes, you feel like you've done some good exercise, that's great. But if you try to go for 10 minutes and you come back and you're just flattened out, Kitty wants to join. So if you push yourself and do 10 minutes or 15 minutes because you think you should do that, and you come back and you're wiped out and you're laying on the couch for an hour, well, maybe that's a little too much. Maybe you need to stick with the 5 minutes for a while. And then move it up to 6 minutes or 7. So no, I don't recommend pushing through the pain and the discomfort. I recommend finding an integrative edge and working with that and allow it to expand gently. But then again, that's where diet comes in, because with the right diet, your body is going to heal more quickly and your pain will reduce if you're eating the right foods for your body. You will feel better in your body. You will have more energy, more vitality, less brain fog. All of these things can be reduced by eating the right diet for your body. So again, when we're talking about exercise, I think for women with fibromyalgia, more gentle exercise would be recommended. I wouldn't recommend aerobics or something fast or hard or heavy weights. I would recommend something like walking. But I also think it's very important to find something that you enjoy doing and consider other things you do in your life as exercise. So if this is your day to clean house, that's your exercise. What you can improve there in doing that is to breathe more deeply while you're doing it and be more aware of your body. And if your body starts to hurt, take a break. That's a way of bringing more awareness into what you're doing. And it's a way of finding that integrative edge for you. I love to garden. So for me, sometimes I go out and I piddle around in my garden or my yard. And it's something I love doing, and it's great exercise. You can count in your exercise when you go to the grocery store. Walking around the grocery store is exercise, is movement. If you're more aware of all of these things that our body is moving, that's exercise. So include that in your exercise. Again, gentle movement. Like I said, I like walking. I used to swim. I do yoga. I work in my yard. I clean house sometimes. I do clean house. Cleaning house can be a particular challenge for women with fibromyalgia. I used to try to clean everything all in one day and would be wiped out. And now I might sweep one room or a couple of rooms and then do another room later. Another important aspect of rebuilding your health is care of your emotions. And that's a big area for women with fibromyalgia. It's our emotional body. From my perspective, depression is a suppression of emotions. And for many women with fibromyalgia, there has been trauma or negative life experiences, as I like to call them, where we were not treated with respect and love. And we were told through words or actions that we were not valuable, that there was something wrong with us for being who we were or are. And those are deep, deep emotional wounds. And when you walk through life with those kind of wounds, that impacts your energy field, that impacts your vitality, that impacts the flow of energy through your body. And sometimes the emotions are so strong that we just can't feel them. So we suppress them. But it's important to understand that our emotions are all valid. And if we suppress our negative emotions, we also suppress positive emotions. So it's really important to honor our emotions and to learn how to feel those emotions and let them move through us without unnecessarily feeding them. Now, there's a lot in that statement that I just said. These emotions are a very important part of recovering, rebuilding your health. When I was a child, when I was born, my mother was in a period of her life where she was severely depressed. I was the youngest of 5 kids. And by the time I was around 4 or 5, the rest of my siblings were in school. And at that point in my mother's life, because she had been so stressed out for very many years, which is what led up to her severe depression, and with everybody gone except me, she fell into a deep depression. And so I grew up in this environment of sitting with a very depressed woman. And one of the greatest healings for me was the understanding that I absorbed her depression. Everything is energy. So this negative energy that my mother was feeling and embroiled in, and as a baby growing up and in those early years of my life, I absorbed that. And that healed. I was using a energy healing technique called the healing codes, and I was doing a healing code on this severe depression that I had lived with for all of my life. I felt like didn't matter what I did, I was hauling this ball and chain around on my ankle. And I did the healing codes on that particular memory, that particular thing. And I realized that, yeah, that this was not my energy. It was my other's energy that I had absorbed. And it lifted. It lifted. And from that moment on, there was not this heavy energy. I had other emotions to deal with and to heal, but it was a big shift. So, and the other thing that I want to say about it, so we all have those experiences in our life where we're either living with someone. I know many women with fibromyalgia, or many people in this world, have violent backgrounds, where an alcoholic father, or a depressed mother, or an over-controlling parent, or a neglectful parent. All of these kind of situations create different emotional wounds. within us. And those emotional wounds need to be addressed and healed so that our life force, that energy that brings life to our body, can be released to express it fully. Think about that for a moment. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. And I want to just take a moment and just feel your hands. With your eyes closed, feel your hands. And how do you know where your hands are? You feel an energy there. That's your life force. And when we have a childhood where we were abused, beaten, ridiculed, neglected, or overly controlled, that life force gets suppressed. We're not allowed to be who we are. We're not allowed to let our light shine. We're not allowed to feel our emotions. We're not allowed to wear clothes that don't match. Or we have to wear clothes that are picture perfect. Or we have to be perfect. We're not allowed to make mistakes. Or our parents look to us to give them love and acceptance rather than give us that love and acceptance. These are all different kinds of emotional wounds that bring about a suppression of our life energy because we feel like who we are isn't enough. So this is a big factor for women with fibromyalgia and men with fibromyalgia, is to understand this emotional dimension that is so rich and fullness of life and energy and positivity that gets suppressed through the conditioning of our childhood. And for me, exploring that, healing that, rectifying that, reclaiming myself, building self-love, self-esteem has been a huge part of rebuilding my health. And what happens when we have these negative experiences? We know that there's something wrong. It's not okay to feel angry. It's not okay to feel sad. It's not okay to even sometimes be excited. It's not okay to be joyful. So we suppress those emotions and then we create a story around that to explain why we can't feel that way or explain why we feel that way. And those stories that we tell ourselves are part of what blocks the healing. So let's look a little bit at the care of the mind. The mind is a very, very powerful tool, but the mind, when it gets filled with conditioning from our childhood, from those childhood wounds about what's acceptable, what isn't acceptable, who we can be, who we can't be, and then our mind creates all these beliefs from our childhood conditioning. And many of those beliefs are very limiting beliefs about who we are, what we can be in the world, about other people. They're beliefs that help us to suppress our anger and our sadness. And so the care of the mind is to look at the choices, the belief systems that we adopted as a child. And sometimes those belief systems are there, had to be there so we could survive our childhood. I mean, if you have a abusive, alcoholic father, you're not going to speak up for yourself. It wasn't safe. And at that time in your life, that was appropriate. But now, 20, 30 years later, you don't have to hold back anymore. You can let your voice out. You can be who you are. So care of the mind is about really exploring our belief systems that we adopted about ourselves, about God, about others, about life, and identifying which of those beliefs actually are serving you and which aren't. And inviting yourself to re-script the mind, re-script your beliefs, create a belief system that is uplifting and life affirming, rather than a belief system that is hurtful, suppressive, life negative. Care of the mind, developing a healthy mindset. Another aspect of the mind to be aware of is the mind. I sometimes say the mind is a terrible master, but a powerful tool. And this is where we come to what I would call our spiritual dimension. There is within each of us a divine essence. And that divine essence holds so many beautiful, empowering, loving, generous qualities. And our first access to that essence is this ability to observe the mind rather than to be the mind. Once you can observe the mind and the thoughts, they have less control over you. Once you can observe the mind and the emotions and the body, that ability to observe creates ability of choice. So rather than to be run by your mind and your conditioned beliefs from your childhood, you get to choose who you want to be in the world moment by moment. You get to choose the beliefs that you want to support and nurture. In our spiritual dimension, for me, as I said years ago, one of my first stops on my journey into holistic health was to live in a holistic health center and the foundation of that center was yoga. And it was during that time there that I first touched on that spiritual connection. Because spirituality for some is a belief system. For me, spirituality is an experience that I have of a part of me that's quiet, grounded, centered, calm, clear. Still, energizing, accepting. Take a few moments and just close your eyes. And let your breath slow down and deepen. And take a few moments to just watch your breath. And your mind may want to comment on this, and that's okay. But between those comments, bring your attention back to your breath and begin to break up the chain of thoughts in the mind. Allowing there be gaps in your thinking. Even if that gap is just 1 minute long, or 30 seconds, or 5 seconds, doesn't matter. And sit with that for a few moments. So a holistic perspective on rebuilding your health, fibromyalgia, a holistic perspective on getting rid of these symptoms in your body. My approach is a multidimensional approach. It's loving care of the body. It's loving care of your emotional body. It's care of the mind. It's a deepening connection with your divine essence. And the last component is your expression. Your expression is who you are in the world, how you interact with the world. Creating harmony in interactions with others. Setting healthy boundaries for yourself, for those who are disrespectful or abusive to you. Finding work, livelihood that is satisfying and fulfilling. Having a healthy relationship with yourself, with your own body, with your heart, your mind, your emotions. Finding uniquely who you are in the world. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? Do you like being alone? Do you need that alone time? Maybe you enjoy being with other people, but you also enjoy being alone. So, and each one is different. There are people that are extroverts and they need that connection with other people to feel alive and energized and less alone time. And there are those of us who are introverts and we need lots of alone time. And yet we still need that healthy connection with others. So expression is how we show up in the world, how we connect with other people, our jobs, our livelihoods. So, not to say, unfortunately, I don't have a quick fix. I'm not going to say take this supplement for this or that symptom, although I can do that because it's important along the way with the journey sometimes to be able to manage our symptoms while we're implementing self-care. And I will do that in future sessions. I wasted a lot of time running from practitioner to practitioner, medical doctor to medical doctor, looking for solutions outside of myself. But when I truly started to take good care of myself, to connect with my own inner knowing, to connect with my body, to honor my emotions, to take loving care of my body, care of my emotions, care of my mind. That's when the true healing happened. And that's when the symptoms went away for good, rather than going away and coming back, going away and coming back. So this is what I have to offer. This is what I would like to share with you, those of you who are following me for whatever reason. It's not a quick fix, but it's a permanent fix. And it's a process of learning to love and accept yourself. It's a process of reclaiming your power, the power that you have given away to other people, to your belief systems, to your parents, to your bosses, authority figures. It's a process of learning to know yourself at very deep levels. It's a process of learning to meet those parts of yourself that you don't like, that you criticize, judge. And accepting those parts of yourself as wounded parts that simply need to be loved, understood, and integrated. So, the question, sharing how you and others you know improve their health and reduce and eliminated symptoms. That's what I've been talking about. This is what I have done. This is what I've explored. And so how do I get rid of this symptom or that symptom? This is how I did it. I loved myself into health. I treated myself lovingly into a healthy state of being. I forgave myself for all the things I thought I did wrong. I forgave others that were hurtful to me, even after I set boundaries and said, no, you can't treat me that way anymore. I got rid of all my symptoms through self-love and self-care. That's what I have to share with you. So I know many of you are going to be watching this replay. And feel free to email me with questions and comments. I appreciate hearing your questions and comments. They let me know where you are and what you're needing. And I will respond to them. Sometimes I'll respond to your email if you give it to me. I'd like to use some of your questions in my blogs, in my weekly blog, so that I can speak to my whole mailing list. So I appreciate your willingness to enroll in this webinar and to listen to it. And my heart goes out to each of you, to every woman on this planet that is suffering from fibromyalgia, and men too. I don't want to forget them. My heart goes out to you because I know personally the pain and suffering of that. And I know that you can rebuild your health and rebuild a life that you love. And I would love to help you with that. And I'm here to serve you. So our next free webinar is going to be on May 12th. So I hope you'll join me then. So for tonight, I'm going to say goodbye, and I look forward to being with you again. And bye for now.